What if I told you the Mediterranean Sea disappeared? Not metaphorically, not politically. I mean bone-dry, salt-crusted, 175-degree desert floor where dolphins once swam. Today, on Guess What I Found Out, we're going to discover some facts about the Messinian Salinity Crisis, the time Earth accidentally turned the Mediterranean into a giant oven and then refilled it in what might be the most violent flood in planetary history. Yes, Curious George, the sea rage quit for about 1,000 years, and then came back with 33,000 Niagara Falls. Let's ruin your sense of geological stability. Around 6.5 to 6 million years ago, tectonic activity sealed off the Strait of Gibraltar. That narrow 14-kilometre opening between Europe and Africa is the only reason the Atlantic feeds the Mediterranean today. Close it, and you've basically trapped a giant bathtub in one of the driest climates on Earth. Evaporation 1. The Mediterranean began losing water equivalent to 29 dead seas per year. In geological terms, that's not oops, that's catastrophic dehydration. Within roughly 1,000 years, huge portions of the basin dried out. Deep-sea evaporate minerals were found nearly 5,100 meters below modern sea level. That's 16,000 feet down, where salty minerals should absolutely not exist unless something went very wrong. Imagine, if you will, the seafloor exposed. Vast salt plains stretching as far as the eye can see. Caverns lurking in the shadows, razor-edged ridges slicing through the landscape, and at the lowest points, temperatures soared up to 80 degrees Celsius in summer. That's 175 degrees Fahrenheit if you prefer. Curious George, that's definitely not beach weather. That's more like cook an egg on your regret weather. If you're enjoying the fact that oceans are apparently optional, go ahead and like this video. It tells the algorithm we prefer chaos with a bit of context. About 90% of endemic Mediterranean marine species vanished. All corals gone. Fish, mollusks, marine mammals, all devastated. Coastal ecosystems turned into salt deserts. This event, honestly, may have rivaled asteroid-level extinction severity for the region. But nature, being as stubborn as ever, did something rather interesting. With the basin exposed, animals began to cross it. Hippos, elephants, bovids, rodents, and possibly even giraffids migrated between Europe and North Africa. Rivers like the Nile carved deep canyons in their desperate attempt to maintain flow. Near Cairo, the Nile managed to carve a canyon about 2,500 meters deep. For a bit of context, that's Grand Canyon territory. So yes, Curious George, the Mediterranean was, for a brief time, a dusty superhighway for elephants. Right, quick impromptu survey for you. Which do you reckon is more terrifying? Option A, walking across a 175-degree salt desert with sandstorms. Or option B, watching 33,000 Niagara Falls refill that same desert in under 10 years. Drop your answer in the comments and honestly, defend it like your life depends on it. Let's see who makes the better argument, shall we? So, around 5.33 million years ago, erosion from Atlantic waters finally breached Gibraltar. And gravity just said, finally. Water came cascading down a 1,000-meter drop at up to 100 million cubic meters per second. Absolutely staggering. Now, just to put that in perspective, that's 33,000 Niagara Falls, 1,000 Amazon rivers, 8,000 times the 2011 Tsunami River discharges. Speeds reached nearly 40 meters per second. Earthquakes were triggered, landslides erupted, secondary tsunamis formed. The basin, believe it or not, refilled in less than 10 years. It took 1,000 years to dry, but under a decade to refill. Geology, as you can see, does not do subtle. If that mental image just rewired your brain, consider following for more episodes where the planet casually flexes. That massive influx of Atlantic water likely disrupted global ocean circulation. We've seen something similar with glacial lake collapses, where freshwater dilution alters thermohaline circulation and cools the planet. The Messinian reversal may have reshuffled climate systems across hemispheres, all because one tectonic gate reopened. And here's the twist. Without that flood, we wouldn't have today's Mediterranean ecosystem. No modern dolphins, no great white sharks in those waters, no 10,000 Mediterranean islands. Which brings us to one of my favorite side effects. When the waters rose, land masses became isolated. And evolution did what evolution does best. It got weird. Pony-sized elephants, smaller than some birds, jaguar-sized otters, if you can imagine that. Giant swans with wingspans stretching 3 meters. Miniature wolves, massive rodents, and dwarf hippos. Honestly, it's a menagerie that almost defies belief. Sicily, Crete, Sardinia. These islands became, well, evolutionary laboratories. Curious George, if you had to pick, would you rather see a dwarf elephant the size of a pony or a swan the size of a small car? Choose wisely. Your imagination depends on it. The African Nubian plate is still ever so slowly pushing toward Eurasia. And the Strait of Gibraltar? It's still just a narrow gap. Over millions of years, closure is possible again. If that happened, more than 500 million people around the basin would be affected. Climate systems would shift. Resources would change. Geology, it seems, never truly clocks out. So let's bring this full circle. The Mediterranean disappeared because tectonics cut off inflow. Evaporation dominated, life collapsed, and rivers carved canyons. Then gravity unleashed one of the most violent floods in Earth's history. The Messinian Salinity Crisis reminds us that oceans are not permanent features. They're dynamic systems, balanced on fragile geological hinges. And if Earth's crust decides to blink, entire seas can vanish. Do you know any other wild facts about the Mediterranean or prehistoric megafloods? Drop them in the comments, I'd love to hear them. And while you're at it, check out our growing collection of fun fact deep dives on this channel. We've got planetary chaos, evolutionary plot twists, and honestly, more geological drama than a soap opera. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe now. I have something coming about an ancient supervolcano that makes this look like a warm-up act. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. Because if oceans can disappear once, Curious George, what else is Earth capable of? I'll see you in the next discovery.